All right. Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to On the Count podcast. Happy New Year, 2024. We're starting the year. We're gonna start it strong. So we got a lot of things we're gonna be covering throughout the year. Um, we kind of slowed down a bit last year for both of us reasons. Keone and I were a little bit busy with many other things.
Mhm.
We are hoping this year just to bring in some new guests and also touch back with some of the guests we've had in the past because that is one of our goals. Also, we're going to continue to talk about maybe more about prison reform and what other people are doing that worked in prison and what are they doing today. So we got a lot of things to cover. Keone, how are you? Welcome.
I'm doing great. I was just watching, in December when we didn't really do any lives or videos. I was going back over the guests that we had in 2023. Like Hollywood, Marcus, and a lot of the people that were on there. Such really distinct, different lives and situations that led them to prison. I also watched the video with the one I called the warden when we interviewed Art.
Beeler.
Yeah, we interviewed Art, and that was a really good because I was not expecting a warden to talk to me about prison reform. When you think about prison, we talked last year about what people view people in prison, but we also when we picture the warden, we picture what we see in Hollywood, right?
Hi.
It's the no nonsense guy or the slimy guy, and he's just there to make the prisoners' lives miserable and all of those things. And we don't think about him running a staff and having, like any employer, he's not dealing with prisoners. He's also dealing with officers who may or may not be doing the right thing and managing personalities. But he talked a lot about reform and helping prisoners. And so that I was drawn back about by that. But I like that we're starting the year off meeting back up because we have some wonderful guests. And one of the things we're going to talk about today, we just finished the Christmas season, we're in the new year, but what's it like in prison during these times when you're that Christmas to it's a new year um, atmosphere in the prison system? Now, you were a corrections officer and a counselor in prison for 20 plus years. So I know you've seen a lot of differences from the beginning when you started to the end. But let's just kind of talk about how it was on towards the end. Your last, 4 or 5 years there. What do you do in prison when Christmas comes up? Because we know you're not there to make it summer camp. It's prison.
It is,
So like,
it is prison and it's not summer camp. It's not boys. No, it
oh
is.
wait, hold on. Let me distinguish. We are talking about his dealings with federal prison, so we don't want you to think we're painting the picture for state prison.
Right.
Um,
And there is, I don't know exactly what happens in county for that time of year. I imagine it's very difficult because they only come for a certain period of time or, a small departments. But for us, and it really, for us in the federal prisons, in the federal system, really depends on the level of the prison because penitentiary is your highest level. And actually, the highest level will be like Colorado. That's just have some really bad guys, and that's totally different because those guys don't come out about 1 hour, 2 hours a day, and how they treat them and how they move them is way, way different.
mhm.
Um, and you got your penitentiaries, and you got your mediums, and you got your lows, and you got your camps, and the camps are a little bit more or less restricted, so it's a lot open and it's a lot going on. The inmates there, well, they know it's Christmas, and they have the opportunity to have stuff come in the dining hall, and the people working food service really, really work with the inmates, trying to make it comfortable. I mean, they bring in great meals, they work with them. Some of the inmates also have the opportunity to go through a culinary course, and they also get to present some of their skills at that time of year. So they make some pretty nice cakes, they make good pastries, they make breads, they're working on different things. And sometimes throughout the year, the budget is not there all the time. Um, so a lot of things do get, they don't do everything as big as the budget that they have for Christmas. So those things come about. Staff wise, we can't right throughout the year. Who's going to work Christmas? Who's going to be off this? Some people
Ooh,
Christmas and be there for Christmas because the
I
pay
didn't even think about that aspect. You are employees. It's like, well, who the hell wants to work in a prison on
on,
Christmas?
on such days. So now at this time of year, usually before Christmas, we start submitting for next year. The leave and everything a year ahead. Who's gonna be off? Who's submitting? Usually, um, we do go by seniority. So who wants to work and who wants to be off? So now you work on that. Some people love to be there because the pay, they pay you a little bit more as a holiday pay, so you get paid time and a half or double time
Are
sometimes.
the prisoners usually more, well behaved and orderly during that time too?
For most part, they want to be most fairly well behaved due to the fact the family comes and visits.
Is this also one of those times where, how we talked about you have the older veteran inmates and they know, hey, they only do this kind of stuff during this time. So they're looking at the others like, don't screw this up for us.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing that. A lot of them, you know, hey, don't screw it up for us. Don't screw it up for this time of year. My family's coming over. Let's not do something crazy that we have a lockdown and here family that's going to visit is coming. Part of your family planned. Their family planned a few months ago. They got the hotel and they got the plane tickets. They're coming from out of town. They're gonna come and spend a day. They want to see grandpa, grandfather, uncles, whoever is there that they want to come and see and just being able to bring some cheer into their life right then and there. But if they done something and the prison is locked down, they can't come in.
I would not want to be the inmate to where somebody multiple people have family members that they haven't seen all year, sometimes 2, 3 years, and they've made the trek to come see them and they can't see them because I did some stuff to get the prison locked down. I wouldn't want to be that guy.
No, you don't want to. You really
Woo,
don't
you
do
got
that.
to put that guy in solitary
Well,
confinement.
he's probably is in a special housing unit by then, and he's going to be there for at least 30 to 60 days. And if it's really, really something he's done that we probably won't put him back on the compound. On we'll probably get him moved because
Screw what he's done. You got to put him there for his own safety.
yeah, his own safety. Because um, it sounds like we forget that
Mhm.
is our primary job:
Yeah.
safety of the staff and the safety of the inmate.
Yeah.
And the safety of the community for nobody to get out.
Mhm.
But those are the things that really, and then everything else goes around them. But that's the main thing. It's all about safety. And if they don't feel safe, well, it becomes an issue. But let's get back to Christmas. And Christmas kind of, the staff is there trying to make it as comfortable as possible for them as well because they work in. So the staff that works with the inmates, usually, the offices are decorated. We'll put a tree here. We usually, it depends in the low and the camp. Also, the medium, they will bring in some trees, some Christmas trees, and put them up. Like in education department, we'll have some. At the camp, I know the unit will have some. So in different areas, they will do decorations in the inmates. Well, some of the guys are very talented, and they'll do their own decorations or whatever. And then you got some other guys. They just, hey, they decor their cell in their areas, and they get pretty creative with the art. And they do a lot of stuff that you would like, wow. Okay, they start making presents that they're gonna send. A few years back, and I see these on the street. They started making um, pocketbooks
Mm.
with um, the wrappers from, like, say, potato chips,
Mhm.
and those they will fold them and they will link them and they will make these pocketbooks, different sizes, and they'll send them out as gift. It got so big that we had to put a stop on it because they were making sales. They were selling these. They were sending them out in bunches. Oh, these are gifts, and they were selling them, and they will go between $100, $150 a piece or more.
And that's you can't make You
You
can't do commerce while you're in prison, correct?
can't. You're not supposed to do commerce while you're in prison. You cannot create a business and have a business or run a business while you're in prison. Now, some of them do it, get away with it, yes, until they get caught. Once they get caught, well, we deal with it and
And
move
you know
on.
what? Somebody might say, well, wait a minute. That sounds like a good if they're sitting there in their cell making things to send out and sell, they're doing less bad things in there. But then you have to remember it is prison and everybody there ain't going to be shipping out stuff that's just wholesome to sell.
You don't even want to get to the other stuff that they send in. Oh, Christmas cards. Now, they get Christmas cards. Now you want to go to that. The problem is we have to check all the Christmas cards.
You got to check all the
But
mail, period, right?
we have to check all the mail
Mhm.
period and all the gifts coming in. Sometimes books are supposed to come directly from the bookseller,
Mhm.
but they find ways to get the books to the house and then send it there, and they'll put in contraband in the books.
Yeah, the old cut out the pages trick.
No, oh, that's way too easy. If they did that, that would be fantastic. But in the binders, they are able to put other stuff inside the binders and reseal them. You can never find them unless you know what you're looking for. Christmas cards, and they send them in. Oh, they're great. Now we all know about fentanyl. Fentanyl has become famous for us, and LSD. So imagine LSD in the cards. The cards come in soaked with LSD, and they used to come in soaked with fentanyl. So all the MA had to do was soak it, and they'll dry it out. They'll go through a whole process and get the drugs out. Also, cocaine can't be dried out and pasted on. You can't see it. We have to test them. We have to be testing all kinds of things. Does it get through? Yes, a lot of them get through. We
There
can't.
was a guy that had like these wax figures that he would get. I can't remember the story. He would get like these little wax miniatures, and the officers thought they were cute because his daughter would send them, his 6 year old and 7 year old daughter, until somebody finally tested the wax figure and it was cocaine.
And they get that. They dry it out. They go through the whole process. They melt it. They put
Mhm.
water. They let the water dry out. Um, this is the other thing. And how they do this, they create stingers. And what a stinger is an extension cord that's been broken, and they usually put a metal piece at the end. When they put it in water, it heats up the water. Or they put it in a fryer, and it makes the oil hot, and they fry. So they use it for cooking. Mainly they use it for cooking, but they can do that for many other things. So can they cook? No, they're not supposed to be cooking inside the cells. Do they do it? Yes. Do we find them? We have to take them away. Do they make another one? Most likely.
You told a story about a guy that you saw a line outside his cell. Well, for those who haven't heard that story, tell that one real quick.
Oh, that was great. I came in one evening, and I'm working evening watch, and we usually come in from 4 to midnight. And we went out, dinner went off, and about 7 o'clock, I noticed, wow, there's a line out here. Why is there a line? And they forgot I was working, and I just say, hold on, let me get in the line. I got in the line, and they were out. Don't y'all say nothing. I just want to see what's going on. So I get in the line. I'm by the third man. He looks up, and the guy looks up and like, oh my God, what? He has a plate, a cooking plate. He has made a plate about this big. It's metal with a coil inside of it, and the coil gets hot and heats up the plate. He has a regulator and everything to measure the heat. He's making sandwiches. He's making sandwiches. He's making hot grilled cheese sandwiches and some other things right there on that grill and sending them to the other inmates. I'm just, I'm like, wow, okay, that's a beautiful job. This is what we're going to do. I said, go ahead and finish feeding everybody, because if I would have stopped it then, I know somebody already paid and they want to get their money back. Or he has to give him. So let's not go through all this other disruption. Just go ahead and finish feeding. Go finish the evening. Once you finish, bring me this hot plate. Come and see me.
That's the de-escalation that we always talk about, right? You could have been that, all right, this stops now. Then you got half the people got their sandwiches, half the people didn't. It's like, all right, you got to give it to everybody now. And but then that, me being a smart ass, if I was the prisoner, when I looked up and saw you, I was like, what'd you order? Would have been my response.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine saying that. But no, the way I thought about it also, I got 120 guys in this unit with me, and it's just
Mhm.
one. What about 10 just decide to take, oh, we are done. No, we're going to do this. We're going to put you in a closet or whatever, and we're going to eat. And we're going to take everything else you have.
Yeah,
What can I do? It isn't much I can do. Probably call for help, but they can take over anytime they
yeah,
want to.
yeah,
Really can. But
yeah.
I creating that level of respect. Well, it makes it a lot easier. He respected that. Hey, I let him finish. He makes his money, which he's not supposed. But they're gonna make money. Usually, it's stamps. Somebody's paying with stamps because there's no cash transaction
Mhm.
unless they're doing outside. So all transactions are done by stamps. So now he got that. He gives me the coil. I'm done with it. Um, can I write him up for having it? Yes, I could do all that. And it looks good for me with my bosses, but I want to make sure that every day I come into the unit, I can run it and avoid issues later on. If I have somebody in real trouble, they're trying to hurt or trying to run some real game, they'll come and tell me, hey, we having problems. Let's fix this.
Yeah, you walked in there and the guy was, even though it's wrong, the guy's making sandwich. If you walked in there and the guy's selling drugs out of his cell, it's a whole different story.
Oh, it's a
You know?
different story. Drug and alcohol and all that, especially alcohol is very easy, especially this time of year. We are doing all kinds of shakedowns because at this time of year, for New Year, guys, for New Year's and the football game, Super Bowl, they are making alcohol. And they are so good at this.
And taking bets.
Yes, taking bets. Believe me, we found, oh my God, I personally has found over $600 in stamps and just the bets. And that's a disruption for everybody because the guy let me find it. You're done.
So
Well,
they're paying with stamps because that allows them to send letters.
it's just a currency. You have to create a currency.
Yeah.
And
It's just
stamp,
like I get what you're saying. Like $1 is worthless unless you assign value to it.
exactly. They
You
have
know.
to have some kind of value. They got
Yeah.
to have some kind of currency. You can use the stamps
Hmm.
for yeah, mail and stuff like that. But you're not gonna have $600 worth of stamp. Just, oh, you
Yeah.
because I
I
mail.
see what you mean.
No, you have $600 stuff because you're holding for somebody or you are the one that doing running the bets.
I get you because that's what I was thinking in my head. Why would you? What are you going to do with $600 worth? But then I was like, oh, it's just a form of currency, just like back in the day, a seashell could have been currency. Now it's just coins and dollars and all of that. You assign value to it, and then if it's not a stamp, they'll make something else currency. You
Right.
could make a deck of playing cards currency. The red
But
ones are cute.
just
Yeah,
about just about every prison right now stamps is their currency because you have
okay.
a value to it. You can exchange them. You can have that, and other guys will keep them, and you can send out. Well, I want to buy this many stamps. So it is the currency, is the value that
Also, it's something that's easily accessible for them because they're allowed to have stamps because of mailing.
they're allowed to have so many. But they're only allowed to have so many stamps. I think two. If I remember, you're allowed to have two books.
Why is that?
Um, because it's currency. We only can have so many. We can only have let them allow them to have this many stamps. That
Okay,
way we have
so
some control, or we have a reason. Hey, why you have 600 stamps? We have to put a limit because if not, they can have as many as they want to. Then we don't have nothing to hold on to and say,
okay.
well, you can't have this and you can have this many of this. This
So that wasn't an original rule. That was just a rule that was put in place because you realized that they were using stamps as currency.
eventually, yes, I imagine it was. I know we've had it all that time that I was working. We have some kind of
Okay.
deal with it. We did it. They did have money at one time, but that's been a long, long time since we've seen actual dollars inside and inside the prison.
What's the biggest difference you've seen from when did you start? Again, what year did you start?
1992.
1992, and you retired from the prison system
2019.
2009. What's the biggest difference you've seen during the holiday times in 1992 versus 2019? Because I know in 1992 it wasn't all roses, and or maybe it was. I don't know. I didn't work in the prison system.
Well, actually, they had different programs. When I was working at a medium security, they had like a little program for the kids to come in and spend a little bit more time with the parents. They were locked up. They had different things for the Christmas season. I don't know. To me, it was crazy letting people come in into a secure area, not just to visit room, but to a secure area to spend time with their dad, let's say, or mostly was that we had to go through a whole background check and who was going to come in and all that, making sure there was family, kids. Mainly was kids coming to visit their dads and wives and stuff like that. That went away within before the end of the 90s. They stopped doing that, and it's kind of getting more restricted throughout the years due to the fact drugs and other stuff coming in. They made it a lot easier because now the drugs are so easy to get in. This K2 is water soluble. The fentanyl, the cocaine, is a lot so easier to get into papers and soak them and send them in or write it in. And then you just um, dry it out and let it all come to the top. They have a whole system these guys work out just to get drugs in the prison. The guys that are really good at it. They're really good at it.
That's why they always say that old adage: if you could be as creative as you are, you could have, you know.
Oh, and like I said, they get very creative, making those pocketbooks and making small stuff. They were making some guys are really they learn how to really paint. They make these great paintings and drawings, and they send them to the families. And it's just a busy time of year, especially for the people that work in the mail office.
Mhm.
Not just sending mail, but receiving mail because there's a lot of mail coming in. Usually between now and by mid January, we have extra people working in the mailroom, so we
Wait,
can be able to.
so question. I know the mail comes in, you check it, but so if the mail, so how does it work? Because like if so I'm not sitting in my cell writing a letter, putting an envelope, sealing it, putting a stamp on, handing you, and you mail it out. I've got to give it to you, you check it, and then you close it and stamp it.
No, they'll stamp it. They'll leave it open. At the medium, again, depends on the level of the prison.
Mhm.
Usually, medium and above, you cannot close your mail. We scan it. We'll read. That's the longest part of biggest thing of the night when you work in the night shift. You get all the mail, you open it, you check it, you start going through all the mail. Imagine going through. You have hopefully just 150, 120 guys, 150 guys in this side of the unit. This unit you're taking care of at that time. You have mail from 150 guys you're going to go through. Open, go, read. Maybe you get checked, see what you have, seal them, go and seal all this mail, get it ready to send out at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's one of the jobs that you're going to do. Plus everything else you're doing throughout the night, which is making rounds. You get up, you got to make rounds. You counting inmates. You counting at midnight, at 3, and at 5. So in your shift, midnight to 8, you're gonna count 3 times. When you come in, once at 3 o'clock in the morning, and again at 5 o'clock. Hopefully everything is good and nobody's missing and everybody's in place. Because it does happen. Some people do move. Some people you can't find. Some people are really trying to do, why did you move at 3 o'clock in the morning? Uh, I don't know. No, you know where you're moving because you were doing something you weren't supposed to be doing. So now at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, this guy is out of place. He was supposed to be here, or either time. It doesn't matter. Now we got to lock him up. We got to do more paperwork and do all that. But usually at night, especially this time of year, is busy because people are sending out cards and sending out letters and stuff. So the mail kind of doubles and triples sometimes than the regular time of year. So it's a lot of stuff going on. You have to be, you know, you think because you work midnight to, oh, you're gonna be sleeping. You a lot of times you don't have time to sleep because you got so much little stuff going on. And if you want to do your job right, because you got to
Well,
be up, you got to be up moving, you got to go and check who's doing what, because you don't grab guys doing something different. They're gonna be smoking, they're gonna be um, having sex.
well, I also know that a lot of prisoners, and it's not, a made up thing. A lot of prisoners do suffer from insomnia. So even though they're in their cell and they're supposed to be asleep, they can't go to sleep.
Then you have those that suffering insomnia. You got those that are just have anxiety. You have mental health inmates. The the one that I always remember, and I will not forget his name. His last name was Dunkus, and he was a mental health guy. And I was pretty much brand new. Nobody had told me anything. And he had the habit of getting up around 2 o'clock in the morning and just start yelling. He'll spook out something that scares him in his sleep. He'll run out his cell, and because they weren't locked, the cells weren't locked because it's a mental health unit. We locked the hallways, we just didn't lock. And he is out there hollering and screaming. The first time I heard him, it scared the hell out of me. I'm like, oh my God, somebody's out there getting killed. And he's in the hallway just standing there just hollering. And finally got him calm down and get him back to bed. But he will do this at least 3, 4, 5 times a week. Just get up randomly, just start screaming. And we had a lot of other mental health guys. They will just walk around all night long, drink coffee. I caught one in the corner in the TV room one night. He had somehow gotten aluminum foil. He had aluminum foil all over his head. He said in the corner. He said, he was trying to avoid from the FBI from reading his thoughts from the satellite they had above the prison. Yeah, come on, let's go to bed. And stuff like that you don't forget. And there's a lot of other things you don't forget, but guys fighting invisible dogs or ants and cats, and you'll see all that when it comes to mental health, and you just find a way to deal with it. You work with them, and mental health is one of those places. Hands down, I bow down for people that just work mental health all the time, because it's just so hard on your soul just to watch these folks.
Mhm.
And what makes it so bad, a lot of them can't. They'll finish their sentence because they had a sentence to do, and sometimes we can't let them out because nobody wants them. We can't put them on the streets. For what a lot of people don't realize, there's some other people in prison that are mental health that we can't let out because they have nowhere to go. So we can't put them out unless they have somewhere.
Yeah,
To go.
there's no
Different from the state, we cannot put them on the streets if they don't have somewhere to go.
there's no asylums anymore for good reasons. So you know,
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's the sad part of that, especially this time of year for them is very sad because some of them come to the reality, I'm still here, or just
Well, I admit I can assume even though we're talking about festive things going, trying to raise spirits, you're still going to have those people that are suffering from depression or being depressed
oh,
because they don't have the family members or whatever that are willing to visit them or have cut them off. Remember we interviewed his name escapes my mind. He was the real estate guy, made a lot of
Mike,
money, Bob
Mike,
Mike, you know, and he said what the first 2 weeks in he gets the divorce paperwork. So that first Christmas, there's no wife, there's no kids. Yeah.
no, this time of year is one that we have to be P's and Q's because is the biggest time for suicide.
Mm.
And we have, I think this is a time that we have the most suicides. And what make it so oddly, and you think, well, inmate suicide, okay, staff suicide goes up at this time of year. This is a very hard job working in prison. Um, you lose family members if you move around and stuff like that. A lot of staff gets divorced, get remarried, get divorced, have issues, the kids and all that. I know throughout the years. suicide people that I knew, at least in 20 years, they come to me. Two that really touched me towards the end of my career, and I know about five, probably seven different suicides in my career from people that I work with.
Mm.
Different changes. Life just changes a lot, and prison is not one of those places. And the job is not easy. You bring stuff home sometimes that you don't want to bring home. You're trying to make that change.
Yeah, that can be very hard to compartmentalize. I know one thing when I was married, my wife used to say is she was grateful that I compartmentalized. Like my military duty and things never translated over into my civilian life until towards the end when behavioral health things started to affect me. And then that was different, but we weren't together, thank God, at that point. Um, I had felt it coming on, and we separated before it got worse because I didn't want that to be an effect on her. So I get it. Trying to be able to separate those two things can be
Yeah.
very difficult. And then you got people around you trying to, and you never want to poop on somebody else's happiness. But if you're the person sitting there, you have no family to talk to, no one else, and I'm looking over at inmate Pedro, and he's got wife there, kids there, mom's there, and they're having a ball, and you're just sitting there. That makes it worse. For
Yeah.
me, it's not your fault.
No, but
People haven't given up on you, but that could bring not only depression but jealousy and all types of other,
it's,
you
it's,
know,
it's life. It's life. And a lot of times we forget, well, they're in prison, but life,
they're humans.
yeah.
Yeah, they have
And,
the same emotions as you.
yeah. But the one thing I would tell you, they are creative.
Mm.
They're creative. When it comes to food, inmates are super creative. It's like we think about military guys, how creative we get with the MREs and
Mhm.
all those little things and everything we did in the back. Imagine now triple that imagination to these guys, what they did and how they candies, from toffee to lollipops, cakes, brownie, cheesecakes. This is just sweet stuff that they made. Then the food from in, from some incredible enchiladas and
Hollywood makes you think everything is made in the toilet.
yeah, but no, they're not. Their ways, microwaves were available, usually available. Microwave. You think about people just fighting. I had one scene. One guy got mad at another inmate, so he got baby oil and went and put it in the microwave and heated up. Now he was going to throw this baby oil on somebody. I can't remember who it was, but the guys come and told me about it, and they told me we stopped them. Not because they didn't want him to retaliate to this other guy. That was not the issue. The issue was because he heated up this baby oil, and what's going to happen once we find out that he used a microwave?
You're gonna take the microwave
We're
away.
going to take the microwaves away. And they didn't want to lose the microwaves. So they stopped them from doing that. Y'all can beat each other up. Y'all can go in there and fight, but you're not going to throw this oil. And they took the oil away. Then they ended up fighting. I can't remember exactly what happened, but that I never forgot that. They just, you're not letting nobody take the microwaves away from
Hey, we always talked about that. You guys, corrections officer, you're in there, you're keeping the order and all that. But if you didn't have inmates policing other inmates at all, it would be anarchy on a daily basis.
you. Oh, yeah, it would be. Would be. Even, and it sounds so funny when you say the word anarchy. Riots. Okay, the biggest riots. I was not involved in it. Was when we lost the Murrieta Cubans back in the '80s, in the '80s came into the system. So what was Atlanta and I can't think about it right now. There's a few prisons about 1987, 88. They were just big riots that took over. And you think the edges will be total anarchy, but it wasn't. The inmates were running things. At one point, they were running child. They were cooking. They had this. You come this unit comes out first. This unit comes out next. Y'all come. They were running the prison. it was like you would think total anarchy would just take over, but it doesn't. It never does. It really doesn't. Somebody's going to take charge. Somebody wants some kind of order because we live by order. Whether we want to or not, we have to have some kind
It's
of order.
also free labor and less staff you have to hire.
Yeah, they figured out. Oh, they can run it themselves, but they will do other.
Because remember, I told you when my roommate in Miami, high school friend Jason Leishman, he was a federal prison guard down there in South Miami, where Noriega was being held,
Mhm.
and when they were renovating the gym, our little army center was next to it. They were renovating the gym at the time that I went to reserves before I went back to active duty. They were renovating the gym. I was like, oh, I don't want to go play for a gym membership. He's like, just come next door and work out at the prison jail. I was like, what do you mean the prison jail? He's like, oh, the jail. Just come. And so I'm like, okay. So I get my little stuff. I drive up to the gate and I'm waiting for like an officer to come out and say, hey, who are you here to see? And I'm ready to go. Jason Leishman said I can come in. I roll up to the gate. There's no arm, no booth, no nothing. So I text him. I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" He's like, "Just drive around, go around the traffic circle, and the building is on the right." I'm like, okay. Drove, go around the traffic circle. I get up to the building, get my gear, go in there. I'm sitting down. I did my little warm up, and I'm benching. And as I'm benching on my third set, I was struggling a little bit. Somebody came, grabbed the bar, and said, "You need a spot, man?" And I looked, they were dressed in all white, and I was like, "Oh!" And then I looked, two more inmates came in, and they started cleaning.
Cleanup
And
crew.
I'm like, what's happening right now? I was like, "Oh, y'all work here?" He's like, "Yeah, kind of, sorta." And I was so I didn't know what to do. I was like, "Is
What?
this street?" And they're just cleaning and working, But you only know if you've never been to prison at that time. You only know the perception of what you see in movies and all that. I'm like, am I going to get shanked? Like, no, that doesn't happen. So they're in there putting the stuff, and I'm texting them, hey, there's prisoners in the gym with me. He's like, yeah, and and so when I got home, I was like, bro, what kind of prison is that? He's like, bro, it's a federal prison. There's no gate guard. There's no gun towers. It's like, if you're dumb enough to leave this compound, no one's leaving because they know what's going to happen next. They know where they're going.
Yeah, that's at the camp down in Miami. It's like that.
Yeah.
Most prisons, like inmates will come in. There's usually a camp
Hmm.
um, attached to most prisons due to the fact that that way they have inmates that can work around the outside of the institution. These inmates are what they call out custody. Um, their sentence is towards the end of their sentence, so maybe they have a very small amount of points that don't require to be behind a fence.
Yeah, because I saw two. I saw one big building. He said that building, never go near it. Those prisoners that are in there, they can't walk around. And I think that's where Noriega was. They can't go anywhere. They're like in prison,
Yeah, they were
And
at
then the
Miami.
other buildings had the other guys who could just walk around and do whatever the hell they wanted.
Pretty much. This is why we got a lot of times you hear inmate escape from federal prison. It's usually they don't really just like escape. We haven't had that many escapes in the federal system. We
Mhm.
have them because they'll walk away from the camp. We call it escape, and they go into the marshals system because they are now fugitives of the law, which most of them are found. Have we
He
had escapes? Yes, we've had escapes.
he had one guy walk off, like what you're saying. He had got one guy. He just walked out, went down the street to the gas station, bought bought two cases of soda, and came back. Like, bro, you can't do that. What's wrong with you?
You can't leave. You can't go down there and buy anything. Um, so they can't do that. But a lot of
Yeah.
times people come in and drop stuff right outside the down the road from the camp, and they may as well go run pick it up. Between alcohol and beer and cigarettes and
Yeah.
weed and
Yeah, but because they know that I don't care. He was telling me I don't care how much you switch up your rotations, security checks, and all that. It's like you see in the movies. They got that thing timed.
oh
They
yeah,
know, they know Pedro's coming around this corner in 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes, guys.
yeah, they know they beat us to it. I mean, you'd be watching. We had a tower at one time, and I was up there. I'm like, I will watch the road, and I'll be like, oh, just somebody just threw something out there. I'll call the perimeter, and they're gonna pick it
Mhm.
up before they're gonna get it in the morning. So, and then I called my boss at the time, and I said, I just saw this, this, and this. Okay. I said, wow, you're not asleep up there in the tower? I said, no, I'm doing my job. I'm like, was I supposed to be sleeping? No. Okay. Because he was kind of amazed. Oh, you are awake.
Yeah, because I mean,
I'm like,
people
I'm
look at that.
awake.
It's like you're human. Like I always loved when I watch military movies and the guys are awake all night, and it's like they've never dozed off and fell asleep. So I thought that was the realistic thing. And then when I deployed for the first time, and I'm doing like that 9 hour overnight shift, and I'm like that first hour I was like, yes, attention to duty. I am never dozing off. Yeah, 3 hours in, I'm getting knocked on the head. Hey, like, oh my god, I'm sorry. Hey, it happens. Just stay up.
It happens. You try your best, especially every time, everybody sleep. That was one of the things that you're going to laugh that I used to hate working about working nights because I
Uh,
go walking around. I'm like, everybody asleep, and here I am having to count these guys and be awake at this time of night. Sometimes I just randomly do something just to wake everybody
oh, you were that person.
up,
Oh.
just for the heck of it. But because I was awake, you got all day to do everything.
So on the
But usually it just out of fun, but not out of meanness. It was just more part of fun stuff.
on the counselor side, because you were corrections officer, but on the counselor side, did you ever subscribe to the cheesiness of one of the inmates you were counseling? All right, it's a new year. What's our plan for the year? What are we looking at? Did you ever go through that ritual? Like,
That
what are you
was
gonna do different?
actually the case managers go through something like that. The case managers are the ones that have the inmates. They work through the case, they get them ready to leave the prison, and they usually have to set a plan for the year. So they do have to run through that. What is our goal for this year? Did I do that? Not really. It wasn't part of my job to do that. Maybe with a few guys said, "Hey, what are you planning? What do you want to do this year? What is it we want to accomplish? Anything that I can help you with?" Yeah, a lot of guys knew that I kept my door open for that. If you come and ask for help, I will find a way to help you. If you didn't ask, I'm not just going to, you know, take you by the hand and no, I'm not. But you come in, I always tell them, you come and ask, I'm going to help you out. And you got to earn that help. You got to show me what is it you're doing that I should spend my time trying to help you. Okay, well, I go to school. I'm doing this. I'm family's taking care of me. I am have stayed out of trouble. I'm not in trouble. I'm doing this, and I'm trying to focus on on school and getting better. So when I get out, I have something. Again, usually the biggest thing that I would say to them: do go to school, save your money. Because believe it or not, most of these guys came in and wasted so much money in prison. And usually it's because family members send them money. Okay, wow, it's tough being in prison, but they forget that it's tough being on the streets. And because you're in prison, you don't make much money. And for whatever reason, we kind of have a soft heart, so we'll send money into prison. Most
Mhm.
families do, and try to help the person, try to help them, survive. Sometimes they get in trouble. Mom, I need money because I made some bets. Mommy, or I get need this, or I'm out, or if you are kind of weak, they will take your stuff. Sometimes we forget. Big fish is always going to eat little fish, and if you're one of those little fish, you're going to be eaten about that I go through a lot of times, guys trying to show who's the biggest guy, who has the biggest wank out here. No, not always, but there were some guys that will come in with that. And some
Mhm.
guys had to either put it put up or put out, one or the other. And it happens. That's really what happens in prison. We try to minimize it. We have some new laws in the last few years that I got there, trying to work on that situation and prevent it a little bit more. Same thing. Whether it was from staff, believe me, because staff will do some stuff that you will be like, did he really do that? Um,
Humans. Nothing.
staff
Nothing
relationships.
surprises me
I mean,
anymore.
inmates do the staff do develop relationship with inmates, and I'm not talking about friendships and I try to help you out.
No, I just
No, I'm talking
watched.
about they fall in love, and
I
it's
just
just
Pedro. I just watched because I watch Code Blue sometimes, and I watch Public Freakouts. I just watched um, one where an officer was in a relationship with an inmate, and when they were questioning her about things other inmates were telling her, like she would cut a hole in her uniform so that he could have quick access to do what they needed to do. um and another inmate actually filmed them, and then when that inmate moved to another jail, she would actually go visit him as a civilian, as if no one would connect the dots and put two and two together. It was like, really, like, and then when you look at the person, it's like, this is who you threw this is who you threw your career away for. Like, it's a psychological thing that I do not.
it's a cycle. Some of them are I've known inmates that are really they have a gift for gab,
Mhm.
and sometimes we forget how hypnotic some people can be to other people. And if you have very low self-esteem and your guard is down and he comes and builds you up and he's your friend and doing
Mhm.
all of a sudden you feel like there's a person that I need by my side or whatever it is. I don't know, but it goes. You'll be surprised. I mean, like, and it's not. I'm not talking about men. I'm talking about both sexes falling into it, and not talking about single, married, when relationships, and then develop all the relationships in the prison. And what makes so bad is, like you said, somebody films it. Now they have what? They have leverage against you. That's the worst thing they can have because now I have leverage. Either you do what I tell you to do, or I'm going to put your business out there. And if I put your business out there, well, you're going to lose your job or do this. So I need you to do this for me.
Mm.
And that is what the problems when we get there. That is a problem because that's how drugs and weapons and other things get into prison. Is because they have leverage on you, and you try to keep it for nobody to know this, or try to keep things better, or just unmanageable. When that happens, we just hey, just go tell somebody they got you, all right, and be
Mm.
done with it. Because then you're gonna have to be fighting two ends. Us, because you're trying to keep it from the staff and other people, and then you're gonna have to be hiding, and then you're delivering the inmates because it's just a stressful situation you just created. And once you start lying and doing all that, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Mm.
Now we got other people who just want to be. We've had a staff that just want to be gangsters. Come to work and then they just want to be gangsters with inmates. I'm like, really? We've had that. We've had that. So,
You
but it is.
And
It's,
then some people have those. There's just so many stories out there. I don't recall the names, but I remember watching one where a correction officer. This was in California. He was gang affiliated, even though he was a corrections officer, and the fellow gang members that were in the prison ordered him to do something he wasn't supposed to do to another gang member. And you would think that he's the correction officer, and it's like, no, but in the hierarchy of the gang he was in, he had to freaking do it. And didn't turn out too well for him, but I'm like, dang, that's such a weird predicament.
it's weird because the thing is, once you're there and you kind of, it's not about you then because they're going to threaten your family, they're going to threaten people you love. So it end up being that you don't want to find yourself in that situation.
Yeah,
So
that's
you always
definitely
try
the
to.
biggest reason to keep your personal life away from. They don't what they don't need to know where you live, and well, they
But
have access to the internet. It doesn't. It's
they
not
have
that hard
access to the
anymore.
internet, so you kind of make sure you have to work on those things in the internet, not putting too much of business out there.
Yeah.
But they get to know you so well. They know. We found like list one guy writing about it, the staff at this time. Such and such does this when they're leaving. This is the car they drive. This where they go south. Where and they had a. We found this in doing shakedowns. This is why we have to do shakedowns and be straight.
Did in the list did you see things not only about the details of like what they drive and all that, like Officer Lugo, stand up guy, don't give him trouble. Officer Pinellas, what a dickhead.
Oh, sometimes you find those too. Or sometimes they just trying to, keep up with. They know what time you left. Not just mainly not us. Sometimes the officers, yeah, they have that, but they're watching the other staff that works in the prison. We forget that we have staff that works in the kitchen,
Mhm.
education, medical, psychology, and all these other departments, and they're watching little details about that person.
What do you do when you get found one of those rosters and I'm just sticking with the not the details of the car and the house and all that because I pretty much know what you'll do with that. But when you see that, like Officer Jenkins, what a jerk, pushed inmate in the back of the head, punched this guy. If we ever had a riot, he's the first going down. When you see stuff like that, you're like, hey, you might need to reassess how you're
Yeah, we kind of,
handling.
and but we also find out who wrote it and why. If this guy's a threat
Yeah,
to to a staff member, if he is, he's got to go.
yeah.
Uh,
But I'm saying, I know that part too. Do you ever go like, all right, hey, Officer Jenkins, look, let's talk about how you handle and de-escalate situations.
we do that as a lieutenant. I did that. I did it as an officer with other officers. I mean, I do. You don't have to go out there because this one guy did that one morning and he's about to jump on this guy. I said, no, let him go in the back, and I said, don't do that. Why? Because don't. And I'm not being soft on him. The problem is, it's just you and I. Now you initiate this whole confrontation. You end up fighting the guy, which honestly, I told him, honestly, he was the right to punch in the face. But if he punches you in the face, I'm going to break him down. I got to cut him in half because you're not smart enough. You're stupid and you do some dumb shit to initiate this whole thing. Now I got to hurt this other guy because your stupidity, and it's going to piss me off. When I see you outside of here, we're not going to have a friendly conversation. So let's not do that because it makes everybody else's life harder.
It makes
And what
every
happens is, what if I get hurt or
yeah,
you get hurt?
and
The
you talked about that in the beginning. It's not just hey, these guys are in prison. You're thinking about the safety of the prisoners as well as the safety of the staff. And well, Pedro, we talk about that in life. People in authority, whether you're a corrections officer, police officer, a principal at a school, a mom, a dad, the adult versus a teenage child, it's always the person in authority's job to de-escalate
right,
because you have all the authority. And somebody in an authority that gets that is always good at de-escalation. I had a cop friend, he said, in 24 years of being an officer, I never raised my voice. Why am I raising my voice? I have a badge and a gun and a taser and a baton. I don't need to raise my voice. I just de-escalate and calm them down. Somebody gets outrageous, I tell them what's going to happen, and then it happens. He's like, I'm the authority.
right. A lot
You
of people
know,
don't realize that, and it's just that right there has an environment that has changed throughout the years. Right now, people don't see law enforcement as the authority, but as the aggressor. And
Mhm.
sometimes they do make it that way.
Yeah. Well,
But
you know what that's a bigger problem because it's almost like we talk about like why we do this show, right? We've shed two different lights on inmates. We've shown terrible, dastardly, disgusting, vile people who should be in prison, and then we showed people who need to be redeemed or shouldn't have been there in the first place and all that. It's the same thing with that. You can go on YouTube and find 90 gajillion videos of cops doing the wrong thing. And then you can also find videos of cops doing the right thing, but it's which one do you want to find? Right? Which one do you want The people who act like, hey, if you just pull over and do everything you're supposed to, it's going to go great, are oblivious. And the people who go, all cops are terrible, are oblivious. It's an extreme on both sides when it's same thing with inmates, same with the cops. They are humans and humans will human, you know, and that's just the thing. Humans, we have the cops that know as soon as I get on that scene, I'm de-escalating it. I know the law, and then you have people. I think one thing that's happening that, and you have to check your ego. That's one thing you've never had. You got to check your ego because I've seen this with my own eyes. What will happen is when I've seen a cop with the authority challenge someone, and that person knows their rights, and that pissed them off. It's like, no, no, check your ego at the door. You were wrong. It was explained to you were wrong. Then the supervisor gets there and says, no, that guy's right. De-escalate. It shouldn't take that. But, we all don't have that skill. Doesn't your job does not determine if you possess that. It should, but does not always dictate that you have that skill.
No, people have gotten way smarter nowadays. The access to
Information.
the World Wide Web and information. It's an information situation. People are wiser now. You just can't bamboozle anybody. You just can't pull. Whoa, we're gonna give you this, and this is, give you sweet water and tell you it's honey, or and this.
I can't imagine how many people who didn't know about cars that used to have to take their car in, like what did it say, the 70s or 80s, and you just go with whatever they tell you, and now wait, that part doesn't cost that much, or that's actually not what I need, or things like
You
that.
come in with so much knowledge. That's why, guys, law enforcement, you have to continue to learn. That's one thing I will go. And you talk about Mr. Beeler earlier in our conversation, that he was really good about it. He will kind of get on your nerves about it, but he will make you research because he will ask you questions. And if you didn't have the right answer, he'll look at you like, well, find me the answer. And you'd be like, all right, well, let me make sure that I know what I'm talking. He always wanted to make sure when you weren't giving a class, you were doing something, you knew what you were talking about. That you were not misinformed, that you weren't just not standing there giving information, you had no clue what you were talking about. And he made sure of that. That's one thing I would say about Mr. He made sure that you knew your job. Some people did not like the way he went about it, but he just wanted to make sure you knew your job and you did it well. And that's why he, talking about prison reform, and he's really looking towards that. But he's always looking at staff to doing their best and making sure that they know what they're doing. And that was his goal. But one thing I want to say, and I just want to bring this up because we've been talking about prison, and right now, Ecuador's prison has gone off the rails. They one of their big inmates escaped, and there has been rioting in some of the prisons in Ecuador. I was just watching the news, and it's gotten really ugly because Ecuador was one of the most peaceful countries in South America that you could travel. It uses the dollar, and I've traveled a lot there, and now we don't even want to go because things have changed. But prison life everywhere else, even though it might be tough here, maybe some other states, some other countries, like going to Switzerland or some European countries, sometimes prison okay, but other than that, most prisons
The
are
prisons,
so
the prisons in
hard.
China, the
There's
prison.
nothing like this.
There are prisons
You
where
don't have a bed.
there's prisons where you only have 6 feet. You know, like yeah.
I got a
There's
guy.
prisons where my closet is bigger than their cell.
We brought a guy from Central America, from Costa Rica. He was in they worked out on exchange. We got him. As soon as he got out of the airplane, that man went to the ground and kissed the ground. He said, "I've been locked up in Costa Rica for 5 years. I'll finish my time here. This will be so much easier. I'll do 20 years now." But he got out the plane in cuffs and everything. He just dropped to his knee and kissed the ground. That's how bad he had it.
And I'm gonna leave it on that note.
Sounds tough you had it. All right. Yes. Thank you, Keone. Thank you, everybody that had a moment to watch. And follow us, please. We are, any questions, you can always reach us at onthecount.podcast@gmail.com. Send any comments there as well. And leave any comments in our viewership. And follow us and subscribe, please. Thank you, everyone. Have a great new year. We'll be seeing more. You will be seeing more of us, and Keone, and some other guests when we bring it. Have a great evening. We are out.
Peace.